man, we always like,
Deep.
yeah, we always kind of like go so, like we started falling asleep on the bus and we're talking about like dead people.
This is the exciting post.
Who can we offend next?
Okay, what is it? Episode 8.
Episode 8.
Yeah, almost didn't happen. Everybody
Pulled from the jaws of defeat.
Yeah, everybody's bailers today.
Really?
Yeah.
Everybody almost there.
Almost me. If I hadn't had these rubber arms, they're so easy to twist.
I think
Plus
they are
the
too, because you were just like, no, I don't want to do it, but... And then like you did it anyways.
Yeah.
So I realized today that I can't stay awake on public transit at all.
For how? Okay, what's the minimum amount of time?
Maybe about
5 minutes?
10 minutes or something like that.
Okay.
But my bus ride home is like an hour.
It sucks.
Yeah, and what really sucks is when I do go home like on time, like it's alright if I work late because then I can sit down and I kind of go into this weird hibernation mode, right?
It's cool.
But it's
Twitter.
yeah, no, it's awesome because like it's a really long commute, but it doesn't seem like it. It's more like teleportation to me because I get on the bus and I'm just like,
Yeah. Well, a good chance to catch up on sleep.
yeah, and I'm still amazed by like how I know when to wake up to.
Yeah, you've
When
never
your
missed
stop is.
Yeah.
stop or anything
Because
like that?
there's like a certain turn when I'm coming to work. There's a certain turn where the bus like dips
That's
or
where
something
like
like
throws
that.
him and he like hits his head on the back.
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
I always
okay.
wake up with a bruise. I don't know. But no, there's the bus does something that my body recognizes. That's just like, oh, we're here. And I'm like,
Whoa.
oh.
Neat.
Yeah, but it sucks going home because everybody else is going home at that time.
So you're in the same spot.
And I'm one of the later stops on like the downtown circuit, so the seats are always busy and I'm standing up. And that is just like, I don't mind standing up, but it's the fact that I'm fighting this habit of like
Sleeping.
carcolepsy.
Have you fallen asleep standing up?
Yeah, and that shit sucks, man, because
Yeah,
because like you kind of, and you know how like you sleep on transit where you kind of do like your neck goes.
You did the head bob.
No, well, I don't do that actually. My neck seems to like seize up so that like I can rest with my head upright.
That's
but
good.
it's,
Most people can't do. That's the head bob.
But yeah, but it's like it's like I have a neck brace on or something like that. But so that enables me to kind of sleep standing up.
Yeah.
Like even like this. But the problem is that like when I go into that semi-conscious state, my neck might be all right, but my legs are not.
Oh, what?
Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, this is terrible. I've scared the shit out of so many people on transit
yeah.
because I think the worst thing is like it's not even that. It's when I'm sitting down, and because I don't go into like a full peaceful sleep or anything. I'm like half conscious.
Yeah.
Like you know how dolphins they kind of sleep by resting half of their brain at a time.
I do know that actually.
Yeah. So like I think I kind of do that. I never really fall asleep. I'm always just like this middle state of consciousness, and because of that, I'm thinking about like martial arts or like snowboarding,
Martial
or
arts
something
puts
like
me to
that.
sleep too.
Yeah.
It's pretty boring.
His legs
No,
just
but that's-
kicking people.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's what happens. So someone like goes to punch me in my like
Do you
dream,
ever
and I'm
dream
like,
about?
"Ah!"
And
and the person next to me is like,
defensively.
yeah. And I just like do these like crazy jumps. And I've noticed when I do get a seat going home, if someone's like sitting next to me, and I'm doing my sleep, and I do like a couple of those,
I'll do the
they
trick,
move.
yeah.
They get up. They'd rather stand up than sit next to me because they don't know if I'm like this cracked out psycho or
Totally.
something.
What?
This guy lives on the edge of Calgary.
Who me?
Right. Yeah, you're right on the outside.
Why do you live so far away?
That's where my mom lives, man. It's like I refuse to get my own place in Calgary because I don't want it to be any more permanent than it has to be.
That's fair.
Yeah. A friend of mine, he didn't like living in Calgary so much that just so he'd have extra incentive not to stay here, he refused to buy gloves or toque for winter.
Oh my
So that he
God.
reminded like, oh, how shitty it is in the winter, so that he'll just want to leave. And it worked. He eventually left.
Oh, he left? Okay.
He had a couple shitty winters though.
Yeah, that's just self
Just put it on
punishment.
himself.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if you want to do something, just do it. Don't.
Yeah, although because I once I realized, because the reason I have been here for as long as I have been is this job, but also aside from that, it's I'm doing like a course at SAIT and stuff. So I'm just like, well, I've started that, so I'll like see it through and I'll get that qualification and then fuck off. But once I realized I was going to be here for about a year, I started looking into like getting places to go. Because like I'm 31, man, I shouldn't be living with my goddamn mom.
As long as you tell yourself it's temporary.
Yeah.
Whatever helps you sleep on the bus, man.
Well, I don't know how much I can really say, but the end might be near.
Oh,
That's
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is good because I miss my son.
Yeah.
I miss being a dad. And when I go back to Vancouver for those weekends every month, I feel like that's my real life, and everything here is that sort of bus half-conscious
Yeah,
state.
it's.
So yeah, it's weird, and I'm like, it's not 100%, but it's looking good for me,
Okay.
which is nice. It's
I
nice.
guess
when-
it's hard to judge without specifics, but I'm glad to hear that. I know when I first moving down because I came from a small town in BC, and so you get that initially you get
I
that
love small
weird,
town.
yeah, it's a weird feeling of like going back. Like here, it feels like your old life was a dream, and then you go back, it feels like your new life was a dream, and you belong there. It's really weird.
Are you high?
Sense of place. I'm not high.
It's
at all.
all
I'm
a
not-
dream, man.
Oh, we should have got Corey. Hey, Justin, want to come have a chat?
What are you guys up to?
We're talking about, I guess, moving around.
Moving around. No homes.
No homes.
No homes.
It's amazing, like, in how many different ways I've been homeless. Because
Go on.
the first time I'd say was when I moved out of my mom's house initially to go to university in England. I lived in a park for about 3 months, and like I was kind of staying in friends' houses on and off for about, I'd say, an average of like 3 to 4 nights a week or something like that. But there was occasional places where crotch shot. You got to get it out now.
Just whip it
It's
out.
just the balls. That's not offensive.
Pretend like the camera's not there. You're just like.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So the funny story behind that is that the occasional nights when I didn't have like a friend's place to stay, I would just like sleep in the park because it was just like summer months.
Oh, I think you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Was it like the? Okay, I don't know if this is a random story, but did you get married in the same park that you slept at?
No.
Did you get married in a park?
Oh yeah, I got married in a park.
Wouldn't that be weird if it was the same park that you slept at?
Not really. If I got married in the town that I was sleeping in the park in, it probably would have been in that park.
Yeah.
It's the only like really decent park in that town.
Fuck, it's a fuck.
But yeah, so one night I was sleeping in that park and it was cold, and there was like a sort of, I remembered that there was like this sort of tent thing in the high street, in the up in the town, and I was just like, oh, I could like just go up there and get that and use it as a blanket. So I went up there and like,
anybody or?
yeah, it was kind of like, you know how there's like stalls of like shops on the streets for like selling cell phones or some shit.
Okay, yeah.
It was like that, but they just left it up overnight. It was like a semi-permanent thing.
Oh.
So I was just like, oh, like I was just like, I'm too cold to sleep. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was getting into like autumn and stuff. So I went up there and I just unzipped it, and I think any other night it probably would have been all right, but it was a weekend night, and the cops in England are like super, I don't know, diligent or vigilant on like Friday and Saturday nights because there is a real big problem. People go out and they just get in fights. That's our culture. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, man. Like, what do you think got me into fighting? Growing up in England.
Okay.
So, but I did that, and because like it was 2 a.m. on a Friday night or something like that, I was on all of like city cameras and stuff like that. And before I got 100 meters with this rolled up tent thing,
Yeah.
a fucking van full of cops like pulled up and jumped out, and they all grabbed me and they were like forced me around and shit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my god, like, what's going on and stuff. And they were like, you're under arrest. And I was like, oh, but I didn't, what the fuck?
They didn't do
Yeah.
that much.
And it was funny because I remember one of them was just like, oh, and you're Australian too, so we're gonna deport you. And I was like, I'm fucking Canadian, man.
Oh,
what
they
the
can
hell?"
tell the difference? It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
And the funny thing about that is that it was kind of like bullshit. Like every other person I met down the system as I went through this whole process was just like, I can't believe they brought you in, because they took me to jail and I spent the night in jail.
Just because you grabbed it.
Yeah, just because it was like a semi robbery thing. But most of them were just like, oh, well, you were sleeping on the street, so at least you got a place to stay tonight. And I was just like, how the fuck am I supposed to sleep? I'm in jail. And
they gave you one place to sleep. They answered your prayer.
Yeah.
They gave you.
What's funny is that they did actually give me a really good breakfast. But the next
That's
day,
two
like,
things that you wouldn't have got. Wow.
And the next day, I had one of those like meetings with a publicly assigned attorney and shit like that, with like the chief of police
for taking this tent thing.
Yeah, just to like go through all like the legal shit.
Yeah.
But it's they actually let me off with a warning. Like I didn't actually get like any sort of record or anything like
I guess.
that.
So, but technically you stole it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I said like I borrowed it because I actually had full intentions of taking it back the next day.
You guys gonna join us?
Go on.
Oh.
Oh god.
Oh, that's gonna be gross. It's gonna look like a dog penis.
Red Rocket, Red Rocket!
You should have filled it up with milk.
Oh man.
Have you had roommates? You have a roommate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you like that?
It's good. We actually. I don't know what to say about roommate. We challenged
Hello?
That was good. Intermission.
Yeah. You can cut that out, I think. We could probably do without that.
Okay, so go on about your roommate. Who do you live with?
A good friend of mine from my small town from high school, I guess. That's
Small
a friend of mine.
town BC?
Yeah.
What was the actual town?
Castlegar.
Okay, I don't know that. That
Castle
sounds like
Gar?
That sounds like
Castlegar.
a fictional
Yeah, you
place
have
in
to say it
Skyrim.
like...
Castlegar! Do you know where Nelson is?
Nelson?
Yeah. Everybody knows where Nelson is. All the fat cats go to vacation there.
I know of it. I don't know where it is. Like I couldn't pick it out on a map without names.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's just a hippie tourist town that people know about. Anyways,
Is it like where is it in relation to like Kelowna?
It's 4-hour drive from Kelowna. It's like Kelowna's kind of up here, and Castlegar is sort of like middle near the border.
Closer. Oh, okay, down by the border.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Anyways, yeah, grew up there. Like back in Castlegar, there's nothing to do other than like, I don't know, drive around, sit at Tim Hortons,
Do donuts.
watch the stars,
You
do
guys have a
donuts,
skate
slide
park?
around in the winter.
You guys have a skate park? Right?
Yeah. I don't.
So you're that you know.
No. Nope. No,
That's a shame because like I have like this hope of I don't know something with small towns that have skate parks where there's nothing else to do. You would think that's where like the best like skaters and stuff in the world come from because that's all they have to do. They don't have distractions of like good bars or
maybe, yeah.
women.
Oh, there's
Like
wherever you go.
I once wrote a comic while I was in university about these two guys that were like unknown to the rest of the world as being the best skaters in the world. They were actually like the best pro skaters that existed, but they grew up in a trailer park.
Yeah.
So nobody knew about it,
Huh.
and they just used to skate in competition to like win the love of their cousin.
What?
Yeah.
Just so
And,
like inbred.
Yeah, and there was like a thin one and a fat one, kind of like Jay and Silent and Bob. And like I think the thin one's name was Billy Knobshite, and the fat one was
Billy Knobshite.
Yeah, and the fat one was Fatty Cockbobber. And they were cousins.
Oh, of course they're cousins. Yeah.
I remember like because I wrote that comic, but I didn't illustrate it. Like we kind of wrote like a synopsis or a screenplay for it, but that more took off as a T-shirt design because I used to do like T-shirts and like clothing designs when I was in England for like my friends and shit.
Yeah.
and like everybody wanted a Billy Knobshack shirt.
Yeah, Billy Knobshack. It's funny because where I come from, I think there was at least one. There was a couple, well-known skater. I think they were skaters, maybe BMXer or something. Some kind of extreme sport thing, and
not really into sports, are you, Dan?
I think we'll say skating. And he was big news. He was working his way up, and he was becoming famous and all that. But then I think the double-edged sword of small town, where it's like just young shitheads don't really know what to do. He killed himself while I think he was drunk on a motorbike, on a dirt bike, by accident.
That happens. Well, no, there's quite a few
Because they just
people do dumb stuff and
yeah,
dirt biking down like a railway track, and there's a couple instances and like
the train just happened.
Hinton where people die. Yeah,
the train just happened to be on the train tracks.
Something happened.
That sucks, man. I really
like everyone coming out of high school will have one person that died, pretty much.
I had someone that I knew someone that well, not necessarily died. It was a friend of mine that committed suicide in junior high.
Good friend.
Not really. I wouldn't say that. It was someone that like was in our lunch group every day, so like we kind of hung out. But it wasn't like one of my best friends or anything like that.
How did that affect you?
It was a bit weird because the whole thing was a bit weird because this was when I was growing up in Richmond in Vancouver before I went to England, so I was like 13, 14 or something like that. And I think it was kind of like that really strict Asian culture or something like that, and this girl just kind of buckled under it. Like her parents were like super high expectations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I think she disappointed them or something like that, and she decided she wasn't good enough, so she just kind of topped herself. But what was also weird about that is like her parents didn't allow any of her friends or like anyone from school to go to the funeral, so we didn't get any closure or anything like that.
So
we
just kind of like a lingered. Probably didn't hear much about it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like it was just like she's there one day and then the next day she's dead, and we can't do anything about it. Like we
can't talk about it.
Yeah. But the school hired all these like psychologists and people like therapists to come in and like talk to the students and like give us fucking assemblies on.
Was that useful at all? Like, did you find that?
Not really. We like it was one of those things where they did it within a week of like her doing it, so we were all just kind of like it was an assembly and they're just like these are how you recognize like potential suicidal signs in fellow peers and stuff, and we're just like, I can't believe she's dead.
Still getting over it, yeah.
Yeah, so it was weird. It was weird because that was a good time drinking, right? It was weird, kind of going through the death thing, because I think that was my first like real death experience. But it wasn't with anyone like super close, so I kind of partially did it. So it's a good way of like easing into it.
I guess. So. I've heard it said that kids don't really fully understand the concept of mortality until they're about 17. That's when I guess maybe that's when they are faced with something a little closer of
27 to 30. 25.
I think there's a difference between the mentality of there's a difference between the mentality of first of all caring whether that person's going to be there for the rest of your life, and I think that's something that you get as you get older, because
What do you mean?
well, especially for me, because I've never lived in the same place for more than 2 years.
So you haven't had a long-standing commitment to any one person?
No, not really. So like I've moved around a lot, and saying that, like sometimes I've moved within a few blocks of my last place. I've never lived in the same house for more than 2 years. I've known people for maybe, aside from like family members, the longest person I've ever known was probably my ex-wife, actually.
How long?
7 years. Well, actually, I guess that's going on. It's almost like 10 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next in line?
I've known that bitch for 10 years. That's really sad that she's the longest person I've known in my life.
Who's the next longest though?
Probably my son. Yeah, because he's about to turn 7 in a few months.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Mm.
Aside from family members, right? Like my longest friend I've ever had was probably like close. It was about 5 years or something like that.
Okay.
But I don't talk to him anymore.
Yeah. Huh. So then, do you find that it's then easier for you to cope with that kind of thing? With like.
I think so.
With
Because
death of other people, if you're used to just moving on and meeting
Yeah.
different new people.
well, like it's kind of like it helps you to deal with death. Although death is a lot harsher, but it helps you to deal with that when you're used to letting people go.
Yeah,
Like
that's
just
what I mean,
moving on
yeah.
and not having them a thing in your life anymore.
Yeah.
I do think that it's definitely a bit more impactful when there's that realization that it's not only is that person existing to you. I said cyst, I meant ceased existing to you, but they ceased existing to everything, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Oh,
Why am I picking these hard words? But yeah, there is something that fucks with your mind when it's like it's not like you just moved away and you're not going to see that person anymore. It's like
Yeah.
you
Well,
realize.
that's that again. Coming in terms of the concept of mortality is that understanding that that person will never come back.
Yeah, it is a bit more of a big deal. But I do think it makes it easier when you're used to losing people and kind of
Yeah.
moving on,
Yeah.
living without that sort of attachment. Yeah. Man, we always
subject.
like
Deep.
yeah, we always kind of like go so like we started falling asleep on the bus and we're talking about like dead
This
people.
is the exciting post.
Who can we offend next?
We're not offending the dead people. I swear, one time I was in the when I went to England, I started doing all this horror stuff when I first got there, like cathedrals, stuff like that. And we went to one.
You big on horror stuff in general, or just any particular reasons?
What?
When you went to England, you started doing all this horror stuff. Did you say?
I said tourist stuff.
Oh, I thought you said horror.
I thought it's a horror.
Really? Maybe
Halloween related? I don't
Maybe
know.
I was thinking about horrors. But no, there's more like talking about dead people. I went to this one cathedral and they kind of have closing times, right? So they were just like, all right, we're closed, everybody out. And this one guy was like, kind of like, he looked like he was asleep. But there was like one guy that was saying, okay, we're closed, please get out and go and everything like that. And then the guy wasn't waking up. So the guy was like, come on, like it's time to go. He was like shaking him like quite violently, trying to wake him up.
Yeah.
Eventually, right? Like he was trying to wake him up easily, but then like I was just standing there watching him and I think that guy was dead. I think someone just went
Was
to
he
church to die.
Was he just standing or sitting or?
You know, he was sitting down in like, one of the rows where you do your
Whoa.
church stuff.
Yeah. I think you
He's
could.
gone,
I think.
for sure.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but from what I've heard, I think you can definitely tell because when you die, don't all your bowel muscles relax?
Yeah, but not like
I don't think
it's not
is it
a
instant?
Well, it's
I
not
don't
going to
know.
happen like a day later. It's just when you die.
yeah, but no, it's not a and every
So-
time when you die you shit your pants.
it's just
if
sometimes.
you're like holding it when you were alive and then you die, then you'll let it go.
Okay.
But like if you don't need to shit when you die, you're not gonna crap your pants.
I guess that makes sense.
So that's best. That like if you're gonna go in the
Well, that's
battle,
a good-
take a dump beforehand.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking that'd
Yeah,
be good.
you don't want to
It's
die
not
and go
always
shit.
gonna happen.
And it's funny because this is a weird kind of. But when I know I'm gonna fight, my body just empties itself.
You shit yourself before every fight.
No, but I'm just like, if I know I'm going to like train for martial arts or if I'm gonna compete or something like that, I just have to shit everything out. I just have to be completely
That's probably
empty
safe.
when I fight because I don't want to get like kicked in the gut and then shit my pants. While,
Yeah.
you
Well.
know.
Yeah.
And what sucked about that is like the last big competition I was in was it was Tiger Bomb International in Vancouver, and it was so badly organized that they were just like, all right, well we don't know when your sort of division is gonna be competing, so just show up when the first one is for like 8 a.m. and then just be like on call, right? So whenever we fit you in, so I'm constantly thinking I'm gonna fight like within
never
the
know.
next half hour or whatever. So all day I was just shitting.
Just in case. And
Yeah.
is this a choice, or is it just biologically your body's like, oh, be prepared?
It's a bit of half where I'm just like, should I shit? Could I shit? Maybe I should. And then like I would.
Maybe that's your way of like curbing or coping with the nervousness.
No, the nervousness of shitting my pants during a fight. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But like getting in a fight, like I have no problem with that. It's just like
Yeah.
I want to be empty.
Yeah.
Does that happen often?
But the thing is, well, maybe like I used to be a doorman, right? I would like dump before every time I got to work.
Okay.
But that tournament went for like 6 or 8 hours before I fought.
Be pretty
So
sore
all
by the end
day,
of it.
not only did I have to get up early, and like all my friends too, because all my friends and my martial arts coach and stuff came out to support me and stuff. Hey, Ewan.
Is this the woman hating club?
Not today, actually. We haven't talked about hating
We're talking
women at all.
007 last episode.
Oh, yeah, apparently very good.
But yeah, that sucks. So like the whole time I was just like, and all my friends were exhausted. So by the time the fight came around, I was just like,
Oh. Your butt was exhausted too.
yeah, I was tired. My asshole was raw.
Okay, so you were saying that in England, just fights break out way more and all that. It's like just in general.
Yeah, I kind of miss the British culture
How often?
regarding to fights.
Is it just like that kind of old school like they're just let boys be boys, they're just gonna brawl.
Yeah, totally. And that's what it is. Like people like you go out, you get drunk, and you get in a fight.
Really?
That's a Friday.
that
That's a
happens,
Friday,
right?
Saturday night.
Whoa.
Not
Okay.
really.
How are the
Because-
fights like full on like knock the other guy out, or it's just kind of like each other
Like
out?
the thing is, like you'll knock somebody out, but there's kind of like an unwritten rule because there is you want to fight as much as you can without getting like legally liable or in trouble.
Any major injury.
Yeah, so you don't want to like be breaking anybody's bones or anything leading to death or something like that. But like
Yeah, Joe, it is
you
nice.
can knock someone out, kick them in the face when they're on the ground or something like that. And it's just like kind of brawling. But people out there, most people, some people know when to kind of call it quits.
Yeah.
So they'll actually like get in a fight and like they'll all be wasted, right?
Yeah.
And they'll get in a fight, but then they'll actually have that sort of like mindset to be like, okay, I've won.
Yeah, you
like,
don't wanna, like,
like
just-
that guy's bleeding and he's kind of unconscious, and like I can walk away from this, which means like I'm the winner.
Yeah. It's kind of like
But-
the same thing in small towns, where it's just again where I'm from, just the kind of like hick culture is just like rowdy young guys just get in the fights and screw around.
Yeah.
More kind of like cowboys.
And I missed that because I obviously didn't enjoy it once I was like learning that, like getting into the learning
Yeah,
curve,
the
because
green
they don't
chain.
do that here, right?
Well, what do they do here?
Well, I don't know. Like I went there when I was 14, and up until that point, I'd only been in like a couple of fights, and they were just like they weren't really fights; they were just like exchanges.
Exchanges of blows. Oh, that's not what I meant. Okay.
Yeah. But no, when I went over there, like there's also a lot of like racial and cultural divides in
Oh, yeah?
England. So most of the fights I got in was because of like how I was dressed. Oh, fuck. And like if I had a
How were you
skateboard,
dressed?
one of the worst fights I got in was because I had some eyeliner on and mascara, I think.
Is
I
there a
was
reason for having?
yeah, it was right after a college party where I went as a prostitute.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know how to get that shit off, man. Like you need makeup remover. I didn't know that. Like I tried to
Oh,
wash my
maybe.
face, I couldn't quite get it off. And
That sucks.
these guys, yeah, it was like my group and then this other group. We all left the bar at one point, and then they called me a freak. And I like basically told them to go fuck off.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, brawl. But also that same thing. I saw one of those guys like a couple days later, and they're like, "All right, mate. Oh, that was fun the other night, wasn't it?" I was just like,
Oh wow.
"Don't hurt me."
Yeah.
And like in England, you're more likely to get in a fight and like make friends, and you kind of like if you
That's true.
yeah, if you like hold your
Huh.
own and kind of like
It's a matter of like kind of respect.
even if you lose but try, the other person will have more respect for you than
Huh.
I don't know, like any other random person, like
Yeah.
they'll like say hi to you, or, like you do make friends by fighting in England.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like I've had a high school fight like that where like we're friends the next day.
Yeah,
It's completely
Get on all
bizarre,
your
but
it's a bonding experience.
Totally.
Right?
oh man, good
Fun
fight,
and
good
debate.
fight. You're like, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
weird.
like that's the thing. Like when I fight, my favorite people to fight are my best friends because you know.
Like fully fight or like play fighting?
Uh,
Because there's a huge difference.
Borderline
I'd say
fight
I'd say
club.
I'd say sparring
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
because you can go really hard because you know when you fight a stranger, even in a controlled environment like a dojo, you don't know what their sort of like temperament is, and fucking. My last dojo I was with, they brought this new guy in who was like a friend of one of my instructors, and this guy was renowned for like having the worst temper ever. So like an example of this is like at one party that these guys went to when they were at college, one guy was throwing chips at the back of this guy's head just to piss him off, and the guy was like, "What the fuck?
That's how
What
you-
the fuck?
yeah,
Stop
so
it!"
that's
Yeah,
how you sort of
and then
fight.
eventually. This guy was just like, "What the fuck?" Just like got up and beat the shit out of the closest person he could.
What?
Just
Really?
assuming it was them, and it wasn't even the person doing
Whoa.
it. And this guy was like destroyed this person.
Holy shit.
Like he was a big guy, and this guy was also trying to be a cop at the time when he joined my dojo. So they pit him against me
That's
to
something
see
you
what
want
would
as a
happen.
cop's explosive reactionary.
Yeah, I was like, that guy's gonna be a cop. So, it was funny because I noticed at the time that 2 instructors were kind of monitoring us instead of one. And like there was like the main dude and then like the other instructor who's like one of my best friends, and they were just like, yeah, okay, you guys spar, let's just see what happens. And I didn't know this guy was a fucking loose cannon. So we kind of fought a bit, but basically this one thing happened where he kind of jumped at me and I punched him in the face. So it was a bit of a harder punch than really I intended it to
In
be.
sparring, you're trying not to punch them in the face.
Well, no, you want to punch him in the face, but like we're not trying to destroy each other. It's not like full
Right.
force.
I see what you mean. Okay, yeah.
But with him coming at my moving fist,
It was
the
pretty
physics kind of
strong.
lined up, and like I kind of busted open his nose and he started bleeding and shit. Once I realized that, I was like, dude, your nose is bleeding shit.
Yeah, stop, I'm
And he was
sorry.
like, I know, motherfucker. And he like charged me like with like a crazy kick, and like the 2 instructors like, no! They like saved my ass.
Don't actually fight.
Yeah, but I was just like, oh my god, like, thanks for letting me know the test that I was in.
Yeah. Whoa, that's kind of a weird concept to think in. It's like you're sparring, right? But like, don't go too far, otherwise the other guy would just.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. When you're fighting strangers, you don't know what
Well, when
you
you're
can
fighting strangers,
do.
is it just all out, or is it just like I'll just beat him enough until
Like, I don't know, you talk about like in a dojo or on the street.
on the street?
On the street, fuck that motherfucker out. Whatever you can.
Okay, you're
If-
talking about just random like sparring.
Yeah, what I was saying is like I like fighting my friends because you know how hard you can go, but it's still fun.
Totally.
But if you're fighting on the street and someone's attacking you, just like do whatever you can, take them
Yeah.
down, man. Because you don't know what they're gonna do. You don't know if they
Exactly.
have a knife or a gun or something. It's survival. That's what.
Well, so is that what happens like in England where people just like brawl? It's just
No,
like,
no. That's the difference between Canada and England.
So they go lighter in England. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
in
like
England it's just a bit of a brawl. It's a bit
more
more
like sparring, like you're
that middle ground is wider, where as you fight you go all out, but not like
You know what the limit is.
you're not
to
trying
going
to
too
kill
far.
them.
Yeah.
You're just trying to hurt them. You're just trying to hurt them as bad as you can without causing permanent damage.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing to do. Whereas I'm scared to get in fights in Canada because people take that shit so personally over here.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, you haven't been in any fights in Calgary or Canada at all?
I've been in I was in a few like fights in Vancouver, but more me just being a doorman and kicking people out. But I've been in more fights in Calgary since I've been here over the past year, since the past 6 years I've been in Canada.
Huh.
Yeah,
So, what's the reason behind that?
I know, you fucking Calgarians are crazy. It's time to wrap it up, Eric.
That's cool. I gotta go home. Well, I gotta go to work. Another work.
Shit. We done?
Do you want the camera? We can wrap it up.
I just wanted to pack it up and get it ready for
Okay, that's cool.
Monday.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Sure. Episode 8. It's good. It's good chat. Some serious stuff.
Fights, death,
Yeah. Sleeping on the bus.
Sleeping on the bus.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet Jared